Am I on? Yeah, nice. Awesome. Welcome everyone. Thanks for coming. My name is Greg, and as you can see, obviously, we're going to be talking today about why quality traffic is getting harder to acquire onto our websites. Now, I assume that rings a bell. I assume because you've come to the talk, that makes sense and you feel that way. But can I just get a quick show of hands? Is anyone here a marketer who has felt in the last few years that getting traffic onto your website is becoming a lot harder? Does that ring a bell with anyone? Yeah, most of you, so good. I mean, you came to the talk, so I assume it did. But the point I want to make there is you're not alone in feeling that way. I'm a marketer, a lot of marketers around the world have noticed tangible changes in the last few years that is making measurable quality traffic more difficult to get onto websites. We're going to talk about some of the big reasons why that's happening and why we all feel that way, and we're going to talk about what we can do about that today. Before we get into any of that though, my name's Greg, like I said, I am the head of marketing for a company called Leadoo, a MarTech platform, but my background is actually in agencies. I worked for 10 years in all different kinds of marketing agencies, from PR through to quite technical digital ones. So I feel like I know marketing fairly well, and if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn or drop me a line afterwards to ask any questions about today, please feel free to do that. If you've noticed a twang, that's because I grew up in South Africa. That's where that comes from. But the UK's been home for the last 13 years, so I'm kind of an honorary Welshman now because I live in Cardiff and I have for many years. My partner, you can see there, she's Italian, so you've probably already noticed there will be some hand gesturing in this talk. That's where that comes from. And I work for a Finnish company, so Leadoo is actually headquartered in Helsinki, in Finland. But the UK is increasingly our biggest and certainly our fastest growing market, which is why I'm here from marketing and why we've got a bunch of people here at TFM and Ecom this year. Deep down, I'm secretly American because I love country music and I love American sports. So, bit of a mix, don't really know where I'm from, but that's a little bit about me. To bring it back to the talk, you might be thinking that traffic should be easier to get onto websites because more and more people use the internet every year, which is true, and more people spend longer online. So even in like a B2B context, we find now that more than 80% of buying decisions happen online. And in an e-com context, obviously, it's close to 100% of buying decisions happen online. And more people do use the internet every year, that's true. I'm not here to make the case to you today that there's not more total sessions available or total internet traffic available than ever before, because there is. Today we're talking about quality traffic, quality measurable sessions onto websites, and why those are getting harder to get. We're going to lay out 5 reasons for that. The first one is the rise of zero-click searches. So if anyone doesn't know what a zero-click search is, it's when you search for something in, say, Google, and what you see, the results that Google serves to you, negate the need for you to click through to a website. So maybe you've asked a question, or you've searched for a product, or you've searched for something related to a topic, and what you see in the search results page either answers your question or gives you the information you need to the point where you don't feel the need to click on a link, any of the links that show up in, say, Google. Does anyone want to take a guess what percentage of searches every year in Google are zero-click searches? Do not result in a click to anyone's website. Anyone want to throw out a percentage number? 60? Higher or lower than 60? 70? Higher, lower, up? Some up? What, 80, 90? Well, anyone think the other end? Anyone think like 10, 20, 30, that kind of end? Yeah? A bit lower down here. So, good guesses actually. It is a bit of a trick question because the actual answer is nobody knows this. And the reason for that is lots of different people study it and they come out with like a crazy wide range of estimates. So there was a big study a few years ago from Spark Toro that caused a lot of waves. They put the number at 65% of all searches in Google do not result in a click to anyone's website. Either a paid ad or someone who's coming up top on SEO, 65% of all searches don't result in a click. Different study from SEMrush, different methodology, they put the number at 25%. The point with this is, I don't know what that number is, and even people who study it don't know. But I, as a marketer, I make marketing decisions based on search data. I look at how many people are searching for something in, say, Google, and I make decisions to say, we should have a product that caters to this, or we need to have content on our website that answers these kind of questions. But even though Google tells me how many people search for that, a huge chunk of that traffic may never reach my website. Even if I'm in position 1, even if I'm running PPC ads, even if I'm on that search results page to answer that query, whether it's 20 or 40 or 60%, whatever the number is, a big percent of that traffic is never going to get to my website or anybody else's website. And I think it's really telling that we as marketers don't know how big that chunk is. And linked to the rise of zero-click searches, the rise of AI in search engines is just compounding this problem for us as marketers. Because for years, we had a paradigm, a reality that existed where Google or Bing or whoever would show 10 results on page 1 if somebody searched for something that was relevant to me or what I sold, and I had the chance to appear in those results. If I was good at SEO or I had a PPC ad running, I was always going to be up there and I had the chance to capture that click. That is now shifting because AI has become a bit of an arms race for search engines. So I've worked in search for 10 years or so. For the first time in my whole career, 2 years ago, Bing did something truly industry-leading over Google, not because of something that Bing did, but because Bing is owned by Microsoft. And 2 years ago, Microsoft bought ChatGPT, OpenAI. And the first thing they did when they bought it was they said, we are going to start incorporating ChatGPT results into Bing search pages. So if you've been searching for something on Bing in the last couple of years, you've probably noticed that in addition to all the links that pop up like usual, text boxes pop up with an AI-generated response to answer some types of questions. And what that means for me as a marketer is that creates a risk because the AI is not obligated to feature my website or link to it or reference it. Even if I had really good SEO, even if I was appearing for those type of searches before, what we're increasingly seeing, particularly in Google now, is at the top of a search results page, you may well get an LLM-generated response instead of traditional links to websites. And for me as a marketer, if I was showing up at the top before, and now there's an AI showing up at the top, and the AI isn't linking or referencing my site, I'm losing out on that real estate that I had as a marketer. So zero-click searches and AI are creating a scarcity in that organic quality traffic that we've always relied upon as marketers. And to me, that's quite concerning because organic search traffic, almost by definition, is quality traffic. Even if it's not a very high intent search, if somebody searches for something that's relevant to what I sell, and I can appear at the top of those search results, and I can get that click and get that eyeball, that is almost by definition quality traffic. And the fact that AI and zero-click searches are making more and more of that traffic not get to anyone's website should concern us as marketers. The third reason why quality traffic is getting harder to acquire is the rise in search ad competition. So in 2017, there were just over $100 billion spent globally on search engine ads. Google, Bing, all search engines. $100 billion in 2017. In a 4-year time frame, if anyone's a sports fan like me, one World Cup cycle, that doubled to $220 billion in 4 years. And it will double again by 2027. So every 4 to 6 years, the number of dollars spent on search engine ads globally is doubling. And if you think about it, it kind of makes sense because search engine ads, it's just an auction. It's just an auction. And we are increasingly incentivized as marketers to hand control over to platforms like Google to manage that auction for us, to manage what keywords we bid on, to manage how our budget should be managed. Through things like optimization scores, we are increasingly incentivized to give control over to the platform that is running the auction, and more people enter the auction every year. And when you think about it like that, it makes sense. It's scary, but it makes sense that every 5 or so years, the number of dollars being spent in the space is doubling. And what that means for us as a marketer is, well, I can run paid search ads, and you should. Again, paid search ads are quality traffic almost by definition, but you will pay a premium every year to get the same number of clicks, the same number of eyeballs as you did last year. The fourth reason why quality traffic is getting harder to acquire is the cookieless future. This is not a talk on the cookieless future, that's a half-hour talk in and of itself, but even if you don't know much about the cookieless future, you will have all seen headlines like this. Again, I can't really go into the weeds on everything related to cookies, but just to say that if you've been running adverts online in the last 10 years, you will have seen this firsthand. As in, when I started my career, I used to run a lot of ads in Facebook. And 10 years ago, you could run, you didn't have to be particularly skilled as an advertiser to do some quite freaky targeting with Facebook. So like pre-Cambridge Analytica, pre all those scandals, I used to run ads on Facebook on things that really I had no business targeting people on. Like I was able to target people based on their ethnicity and their income and what they were looking at outside of Facebook. And it's not because I had any skill as a marketer, it's just because those were all preset options that anyone who had a Facebook ad account could log into and start targeting people based on how much money they made, for instance. Now, that's completely changed. If you log into Meta ads now, the only preset targeting options you get are very broad interest-based things, like people who like country music or people who like rugby. But you cannot rightly target people based on things like their race or their income or what they're looking at outside of Facebook. And that's right. I think that's progress for us as consumers. But for us as marketers, what it does mean is that we don't have the same targeting options when we advertise that we did, say, 5 years ago. And all it means is that it makes it harder for us to reach those same specific segments of people as we used to. The fifth reason why quality traffic's getting harder to acquire is the rising cost of backlinks. So I think I said at the start, I actually began my career in a PR agency. And one of the things that I remember is if you used to get really kick-ass, like national or international PR coverage back in the day, you were basically guaranteed links back to your site. Journalists would often just include hyperlinks you put in press releases, or they'd be happy to link back to who sent them the story. Media outlets don't do that as standard anymore, because they know how valuable backlinks are from an SEO point of view. But also back in the day, again, if you had really nice national coverage, the referral traffic that you would get from those links, people coming to your site, was often very, very high quality traffic, and it often resulted in a lot of sales for people who could get good digital PR coverage. This is a screenshot from a report put together by an agency called IRA. They're a very good digital PR agency. They put out what they call a state of link building report every year. And one of their findings that you can see in last year's report was that even in a year when people spent more on digital PR and link building than ever before, it was typical for a campaign to generate less than 10 links. And that's not due to lack of coverage. That's stories and campaigns that are being covered, but what isn't happening in the same way as they used to is the backlinks back to a website. Media outlets are not giving those out in the same way that they used to. So, when I say quality traffic's getting harder to acquire, I'm really talking in almost like economic terms for us as marketers. So the rise of zero-click searches and the rise of AI in search engines is increasing the scarcity of organic search traffic that we used to rely on. The rise of search ad competition is increasing the cost to us as marketers. We saw doubles in terms of what people spend on search ads every 5 or so years. And the cookieless future and the rising cost of links are increasing both the cost and the scarcity of those quality sessions that we've always relied upon. I'm not an economics expert, but I did do an intro to economics course in high school, and one of the things that they taught me was if the cost of something goes up or the scarcity of something goes up, so does its value. And so I encourage marketers to think of this in almost economic terms. Quality traffic from all those sources we talked about is either increasing in scarcity or cost, and what we should do as marketers really is we should be placing more of a premium and more value on the quality traffic that we can be bringing to our websites. Now, I'm aware all of that sounds a little bit bleak, and it is difficult, and like most of you put your hands up at the start, most people feel these phenomenons in some way or another. So the question is, what the hell are we meant to do about this? And the trap that I see many marketers fall into is Many marketers will look at like a monthly or a yearly marketing report, and they'll look at those individual traffic sources that we talked about, and they'll say, where is traffic up and where is traffic down? And we tend to make decisions about what we should do next as our marketing activity based on where traffic's not looking so good compared to last month or last year. The problem with that, apart from the fact that you make very short-termist decisions, is that traffic is not the end goal of marketing. As in, if I take my budget, I take my marketing budget for the rest of the year, and I blow it all next week, and I drive 1 million people to Leadoo's website, I run TV ads, I quadruple my digital spend, and I send 1 million people to Leadoo's website next week, and none of them become customers. Did I do marketing? Is that success? And obviously the answer is no, and I think I'd probably be fired if I did that. So we often get bogged down in where is traffic up, where is traffic down. We assume if I can just drive X number of people to the site, my website will do what my website always does, and I'll get X number of sales out on the other side. But for us at Leadoo, we think marketers should be flipping that problem on its head, because the average conversion rate for a website across the internet, B2B, B2C, all websites, the average conversion rate for a website is 2%. And if you think about that another way, for every 100 people that I'm driving to my website through SEO or PPC or email or all these things that we're putting a lot of effort into and like we saw are becoming difficult in some ways to get clicks from, for every 100 people that I send to my website, 98 of them are not going to do what I want them to do. And most of them, if they leave, will probably never come back, or they'll check out competitors, or we're going to struggle to get those 98 people back again. And I think this is quite a sad reality that we've all kind of just accepted, that websites convert at roughly 2%, and if you drive 100 people, 98 of them will leave. We've talked a lot about digital marketing and trends and things happening in the online world. I want us to take a step back, and I want us to, let's take the internet out of it, okay? Let's imagine you live in a world where there is no internet. So let's say you own a store in the 1970s in a shopping center, okay? There's no internet. This is 50 years ago. But you notice that there are a number of things happening in the shopping center that are making it harder to get people into your store. So firstly, there's just more competition. More stores are springing up selling the same kind of things that you are. The center also starts putting up more information on signs all around the shopping center that answer people's questions and make it less likely for people to need to come into your store to ask you a question. So they put up information about stock levels and who sells what products and opening hours. And all this information is just making it more likely that people don't need to ask you questions directly. And then the center just flat out stops telling you about customer behavior. So they stop telling you about the demographics and the buying habits of people who are in the shopping center. And obviously you can see that those are analogies for some of the big factors and threats that we've already talked about today. But all is not lost, because you see that the store next door to you hires a really ambitious young sales assistant, okay? And that sales assistant, you find out, because the shop owner next door doesn't shut up about it, is increasing the likelihood of somebody buying something in that store by 40%. You have a choice. Do you spend your time and your resources trying to solve the problem or tackle the problems that the shopping center is creating for you? Do you treat this as a footfall problem? And if I can just get around these issues the center is creating for me, I can get more people into my store? Or do you hire a sales assistant of your own? And when you put it like this, most people would say, yeah, of course I would hire a sales assistant. Most people would probably say I need to poach next door's sales assistant, to be honest. And to bring it back to digital marketing and to where I work, that's what Leadoo is, okay? So I haven't made that 40% number up. I just did a big study this year where we looked at over 700 Leadoo customers, and we looked at what their average increase in conversion rates was from using our tech on their sites, and it came out to 41% across more than 700 customers. So that, in that 70s example that we've talked about, Leadoo is that sales assistant, and there is tech out there that can help you counteract the traffic or the footfall problems that we talked about in that analogy. I don't have time to demo or get into everything Leadoo does. If you want to talk to me afterwards, please do. We also have a stand here in the technology for marketing section of the show. Please come over and see us if you'd like to see the tech in action. But what our tech does is it makes websites more interactive and more conversational. Again, I will more than happily show you this afterwards if you want me to. But whether you use Leadoo or not, there are some principles about maximizing your conversion rate that we should really all be doing if we want to get the most out of the traffic we're already driving to our websites. The first is mapping or understanding your visitors. So Leadoo, for instance, tells you where your visitors work, what their buying cycles look like, what their conversion journeys look like over time, what content they're engaging with, what their drop-off points are. And most marketers don't know this information. A lot of marketers just look at Google Analytics and see is traffic up or down, but if you haven't mapped your audience, if you don't understand their buying journey on your website, you're really not in a position to convert as many of them as possible. So understanding and mapping visitors is the first principle. The second principle is just personalization. I know there's been other talks on this today, but there's a lot of research that suggests that people not only want personalized and interactive experiences on websites, but they expect them now. And companies that do it and incorporate personalization make up to 50% more revenue in certain cases than companies that don't. Personalization is key, it's here to stay, and if you don't have tech that is personalizing the experiences on your website, you're probably not speaking to those different audience segments that hopefully you've already mapped. And the third principle around conversions is knowing when conversions are most likely to happen. So our tech, for instance, connects to CRM systems and can identify and alert you when visitors are most likely to buy something, when they're at the point of highest conversion possibility. And again, if you don't have, whether it's through our tech or not, if you don't have an understanding of what is the most likely moment for a purchase to happen or a lead to come through, because you haven't mapped your visitors and because you haven't personalized their experiences, you're probably not doing everything you can to convert those users when you should be. Everybody's favorite part of a talk, a math quiz, just to show you the numbers and how this can work in real life. Website A gets 50,000 sessions a month and it converts people at 3%, so it's an above average conversion rate. Website B gets way less traffic, 35,000 sessions, 15,000 less people a month visit website B, but they convert at 4.2%. If you've been paying attention to the talk so far, it won't be a surprise to you that website B comes out with more leads, more conversions, more sales than website A, from 15,000 less visitors. And that jump from 3% to 4.2%, that's a 40% increase in conversion rate. So that's what Leadoo customers see on average, and this just goes to show that marketers, you'd have to ask yourself the question, what's easier to do? Invest in conversion rate and nurturing the visitors on my website, or trying to acquire 15,000 more sessions every month? Just to show you that, to us, the most efficient way to get to where you need to go as a marketer often is not driving more traffic, it's converting what you already have. If you want to see a case study of this in real life with a car subscription brand, you can read this case study. In the last year with Leadoo, they actually lost traffic. Their traffic went down 9% year on year, but because they invested in conversions, they were able to increase conversion rate at 2 core stages for their business. So you were able to sign up for a free account with this business before you even get into the process of leasing a car. Free signups, even though traffic was down 9% year on year, were actually up 12%, the first conversion stage. But where they saw the biggest difference was not just the first conversion stage, but the second conversion stage, getting those free signups translating into sales. Their sales were up 40% year on year through their website from 9% traffic decrease. The point of the talk, if you're a marketer, you don't have to tear your hair out trying to get traffic back to whatever level it used to be or whatever level you think is optimal. If you can invest in the traffic already on your website, you can get to where you need to go, you can create positive outcomes without having to worry about clicks and sessions all the time. So my mission, Leadoo's mission, is to make websites more interactive, more conversational, and more personalized. The reason we do that is because, like I've hopefully shown you with those math numbers, we believe that is the most efficient way to generate revenue online. We don't believe traffic acquisition is the most efficient way to get more sales. We believe that you can do it through investing in conversions and conversion rate. It also frees up time and resources away from having to do emails and PPC and SEO and worry about everything going on at the top of the funnel. As I said, Leadoo customers, they see an average increase in conversion rate of 40%. And if you are in talks for the rest of the day, or if you can't come to our stand, we are running live demos of our tech. So if you want to see how this works and what goes in to increasing those conversion rates 40%, we have a live demo on Friday at 10 a.m. and on Monday at noon. It's just like a webinar, you just log on, there's no obligation. You can just see how the platform works from your own home. I guess you have a choice between Attila, who's Hungarian on the left, or Jonathan, who's Australian on the right. So pick whatever accent you like more, or whoever you think's better looking. Hopefully see you on one of those live demos. And thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it, guys. Hope you had a good day.